Alright, so we are in the UVs section of our Maya class, and the first video for UVs is going to deal with menus, submenus, tools, and tool settings that we'll be using to create UVs. To get started, the very first menu that we're going to deal with, it's the UV menu. So I'm going to tear that menu apart by clicking on this double line right here. And as you can see, this is where we're going to find the majority of the tools that we're going to be using to create UVs in the UV editor. Alright, this is where we're going to go to create our projections, modify our UVs, edit our UVs, and this is also where we're going to go when it comes to creating sets of UVs. Okay, so the UV menu is the very first place that we're going to go to. Then we're going to go to the UV editor. There are many ways of accessing the UV editor. We can go here inside of the UV menu, or we can go to our polygon shelf, and you will notice that the icon for the UV editor, it's on the very far right. Okay, so I can click on the UV editor, and you will notice that the UV editor pops up as a floating window. Okay, I'm going to close it. Another place to find our UV editor is under Windows, UV editor, and again we get that floating window. If we don't want to work with our floating window, we have the option of creating a double panel viewport where we can have our perspective camera on one side and our UV editor on another side. And this way we can see what happens when we create and when we modify and edit our UVs in real time. Okay, I'm going to close the UV menu. And on the left side on our toolbox, you will see towards the bottom a series of icons representing the most commonly used panel combination and panel layouts in Maya. One of them will be the perspective and the UV editor panel. So if I click on this, you will notice that now our UV editor has appeared not as a floating window but as a secondary panel. If you do not find the perspective UV editor double vertical viewport in your toolbox, what you have to do is you have to go to one of these icons right here, preferably one at the bottom, and right mouse button, okay, and it's going to take you to a series of saved panel layouts. One of them will be the Persp UV editor, perspective UV editor. You click on that and your icon will change to the perspective UV editor. The next series of tools that we're going to deal with are going to be some of the tools inside of our UV editor. The ones that I want you to pay attention to are going to be this new set of tools, this new 8 tools that we have in the UV editor. We will talk about these in another video. Okay. The one thing that I want you to pay attention to is that these tools are going to have a series of attributes that I'm going to use to control what these tools do. In order to see these tools, we're going to have the tool settings open. I'm going to click on this icon right here, and as you can see, our tool settings now appear on the left hand side. So when I click on one of these tools, notice that our tool settings have changed with the attributes of that specific tool. If I select another one of those tools, for example the Cat UV tool, notice that the tool setting now has adapted to that tool. So as I click on the other tools, you will notice that the tool settings change depending on the tool that I'm using. This is very important because all these tools right here have to be controlled with the tool settings. Some tools, like for example the flip selected UVs in U direction or flip the selected UVs in V directions, do not have attributes. However, the great majority of the tools inside of our tool editor will have specific attributes assigned to that tool. So again, we're going to be using our UV editor on the right hand side, our 3/4 view, and then we're going to have open our tool settings. So these 3 panels right here, along with the UV menu, are going to be the key menus, tools, tool settings, and panels that we will work with in order to create, modify, and edit our UVs.